Happy Friday, everyone, and thank God it's Friday. Here I am, Barb Wild, good wine gal in the lovely wine country Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. And today my very special guest is Senka Tennant. I'm just going to read a little bit about Senka because I really want to honor her legacy. So here we go. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Senka, a true pioneer and co-founder of Black Hills Estate Winery and Terravista Vineyards. These are two iconic wineries in the Okanagan Valley here in British Columbia. She's widely regarded as one of the foundational matriarchs, but I call her a wine gal, of modern British Columbia. Not only winemaking, but viticulture. Senka's journey is defined by both a brilliant intuition, which we're going to talk about, and this immense energy that she has for hard work, dedication, and of course, carrying her vision with her everywhere she goes. From clearing paths in the very early days to mastering the meticulous technical skills required to elevate our grapes to wine that is of international award-winning status. We couldn't be more proud of the accomplishments that Senka has made, but also how that impacts the Okanagan Valley. You know, when they say, what is it, all boats rise together, Senka's been instrumental in that. The signature, the icon wine, Nota Bene, of course, it became a cult classic here. I remember even after Senka had completed her time with Nota Bene in the shop where I worked, 16 cases would come in, and within hours, 14 cases would be gone. So it's just that kind of wine in British Columbia, and also that kind of recognition. So we're going to talk today about Senka's journey. So thank you for letting me go on. I do want to say that Senka has retired, so I'm going to be curious about what that feels like. But we're also going to talk about a woman who brought Spanish grape varieties to the Naramata Bench. So welcome, Senka. It's my great pleasure to have you here on this podcast and this video chat. And together, we're just going to spend the next hour just listening, talking, and dum, dum,
Drinking.
dum,
We're all
sipping.
good at that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm
Or
just going to
tasting, shall we say just tasting, right?
just tasting, just
Just
tasting. The
tasting.
longer the call
Just
goes, the more tasting
taste
that
it.
happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
love the color. So let's just go back. Well, first of all, you haven't had Black Hills Rosé before, is that true?
No, this is my first bottle, actually. Absolutely. Yeah. Uh,
So it's a something I'm going to remember then, having my first
yeah,
wine
yeah,
with Seika, and
yeah.
it's from Black
It,
Hills.
yeah, it's an interesting choice, right? Round varietals, but then Bandol style, minus Cinsault kind of style, Syrah, Cinsault.
Mm.
With the Mourvedre, I'm really curious where they got the Mourvedre from. There must be
I,
some little hidden block somewhere.
I
And
I've heard that there's some hidden blocks in Osuyas. I don't know if that's
okay,
100%
okay, that must be a
correct.
very small block at that, right?
Yeah, yeah. But this wine has pretty aromas, but power. There's lots of power in this.
Bandol whites, rosés are very powerful. Mourvedre is the star of them.
Yeah.
So tannic, but the Cinsault always brings that freshness to the
Mhm.
blend. Um, Here we have the Grenache for the softness.
Mhm.
And Yeah, I actually had a little bit of it with the smoked salmon at lunchtime. It worked really, really well.
Mm.
Because for me, it has a saltiness at the
It
at the
totally
end of the
does.
palate, soft but salty, kind of. So it
Yeah.
worked really well with
Yeah.
salmon.
You think
Beautiful, very, very fruit driven, right? Super, like I
super delicious, super delicious.
rose petals and
Yeah.
strawberry.
Yeah.
but more like wild strawberry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little sauvage. Where do you think the salty profile? I mean, I feel like there's a fruit sweetness and a saltiness, which makes it really quite special. Hmm.
But it's like that crunchy saltiness,
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so it just complemented the smoked salmon perfectly. It wasn't
Mm,
intentional, but it
mm.
worked. So
Well, now that you've mentioned that, and I'm probably going to have quite a bit left from this, I guess I'll be having some salmon
a
pizza
little ox
tonight,
on the
something like
side.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So take me back. Take me back to something that happened. Is it 1996 or 98? You
Yeah,
and
yeah. We
Bob
were at the
walking around or driving around?
36 acres. Yep. And the tumbleweed was flying. It's a desert, so without water, it reverts back to a desert very, very quickly. And so when we bought the property, there was just tumbleweed everywhere. And I remember always going to it and Bob saying, okay, so how do you feel? And it felt right, intuitively, it just felt right. I love the location.
Black
Uh,
Sage Bench?
yeah, yeah. It was this kind of desolate. But then the weather happened. I thought, oh, where the hell have I moved to?
Going to melt.
These cold. The first winter in '96 was one of the worst winters when we came. It was just horrible. My in-laws got stuck on in Chilliwack. It was when the
Oh,
snowstorms were
yes.
happening,
Three
and
days. Yes.
yeah,
I remember that. I was
yeah,
at the coast.
it was my father-in-law couldn't have a drink, he was stuck on a bus in Chilliwack, and they slept in a gym somewhere. And I remember this is a family joke. They finally got home
Wild.
because they spent the Christmas with us,
Yeah.
and we lived on Basso Lake and in a rented house. And he got home and I called him. I said, "So Dunk, how you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm having a drink. What do you think I'm doing?" It was so typical of him. We had to talk about that. Yeah, that was him. So
That was the tension release.
yeah, tension release. Yeah, yeah. So he used to when he had wine, he wasn't really drinking. He said.
No, but that's the great debate.
Case of the wine. He said, "Oh well, no, I haven't had a drink." He goes, "Dad, you've just gone through." It's like, well, that's not very, very sweet man. Anyways, yeah. So '96, we really busted up our shirt. We planted the whole friggin' vineyard in a year and a half. And the cool thing is always is that we did all the wiring underground. There wasn't any wires above ground in that vineyard. All the irrigation, all the electricity. We pulled wires through cables. I mean, I had no idea about any of that stuff.
Well, what were
We
you doing
glued
before this?
walked across the field. We all got high on all these glue cocktails. Then when you glue PVC pipe and stuff, it was wild. It really was. And I don't know, both the guys lost like 40 pounds or something. And
Hard
Bob would just
work.
fall asleep with Oliver in bed every night. But he was just a little guy then. And reading him a story, and that was him for the night. So yeah, it was wild. And then we went and cartoned all of it. And Dick Cleve and Robert Goltz were living on the bench then, who the big gurus,
Yes.
backstage bench. And I remember
Bravo.
Richard was growing Pinot by his house when Glenn bought the vineyard next door to us, when Richard moved on the other side of us, and we actually gave him an easement to a well that was on our property. And so he sold his house to a friend of ours. So the first vintage, when we moved in '96, it was snowing outside, and they were picking Pinot Noir and growing Pinot Noir. That's what he had in his whole friggin' vineyard, Pinot Noir.
But what time of year were you harvesting? Like September,
October. And
October?
it was snowing because the Quonset hut was like a garage, and we had doors. And Bob was trying to fix the doors, and we could barely close the doors because it was just coming in. And it was just
And
Really, like pioneer, we were
Yes,
pioneer.
and the
Well,
Quonset hut was the winery, is that right?
Quonset hut was the one eventually, not right away, not
No.
till we built that well, converted it, not built it, in 99. A very, very lovely bank manager in Oliver lent us the money. And like he was unbelievable. He came to visit us at Terravista years and years later because we always sent him a case of wine because without him, nothing
Right,
could happen. We didn't have, the funds.
right.
Oh, he was very heavy into agricultural lending, and he would come by every once in a while and go, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, you're doing your work." It was just,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And so
I'm sure you inspired him though, because there's a lot
he
of grit that goes into these visions.
believed. I know Petey and I were working in Merlot that day, and Bob went to the bank for the loan, and we were like, "Okay, so what happens now?" And he came back and he said, "We got it." We were like kids in a candy shop. It was just too God, we had fun, There was
Yeah.
because we were learning along the way, and we laughed a lot with
That's the
yeah,
secret formula.
yeah, really, we really had fun. And there wasn't, in terms of the finances, we just kind of made it work.
Right.
Just barely. We just lived on nothing, basically,
Yeah.
and invested all this money. When we sold everything we had in Vancouver, and they did the same, the McCarrolls, our investors thought we were just totally nuts, just because agriculture is like,
Well,
who,
you're a farmer. You're a farmer,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
you know,
yeah,
subject to the windstorms, subject to the
yeah,
snowstorms that are
totally,
early, subject
totally,
to the
totally.
heat.
Yeah, like the stupidest thing to invest in, really.
Well, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, but we just went ahead and I think it was also that move out of the city finally.
Yes.
It's that change. You either in your 40s, you're either going to do those things or not. And
Not.
because it's really hard once your kids are in school and all that, they're not moving with you.
No.
It's like, no, sorry, my friends are here and I'm not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
that was the
The glue. That
really
was the glue because you'd made the move and now here you are.
who was just going into high school, and it was like, well, once she's in there, that's it. We're going to stay in East Van basically, and do we want to do that? So that was the incentive, really.
What a great life, though, to get out of the city. I mean, for me, again, I raised my kids in an area of Burnaby that felt like we were out in the country, even though we
Yeah,
weren't.
yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm up here now in Kelowna, and I mean, I'm on an acre and a half. Probably could plant a nice vineyard sloping down towards the south, but we've
Right.
got deer and quail and raccoons and
Uh,
turtle doves and like the whole. It's a symphony when you go. It's anyway to go out and go for a walk, ride a bike, go to
I
the beach, go for all the things that when you're in the city is just not amenable to that. Just
And
not
that really was applicable during COVID. I mean, we really didn't change our lifestyle at all living here. We could
right.
go to the dog, go up to the KVR,
Yeah.
hike all we wanted. There was none of that. And then you saw those little short films on guys in Milan stuck in the apartment, and the guys banging as Pavarotti is, in the background, and he just wants out because they have to get it. They live in little shoe boxes
Yeah.
and there's no coffee shops. It must have been just horrible.
I had a friend
Yeah,
who got accepted in the University of Milan into the master's program for viticulture and anyway, viticulture, let's say. And she arrived in January, attended the first few weeks of class, and then was in lockdown. And she told me that she would call. She was out of her mind. She said, "We have a pass. This day we can leave, we can go, we can get food, we can, do whatever, and then we have to stay inside." And that was just the way. And I mean, honestly, we were lucky not to have that, but Canada had a different approach. But
Yeah.
I totally think there were ways where depending on where you lived, COVID was
Yeah.
really,
Yeah. It really did not. We don't go out to restaurants here. We don't, I hardly ever go out for coffee or,
yeah,
and it's a way of life there.
yeah.
And I have a sister-in-law that she's always lived in Nuremberg. They've never lived in Canada. And now my brother passed away, and they have two daughters. And she was by herself in this apartment in Nuremberg when I visited her, I don't know, 3 years ago, just or longer than that, just after COVID, stuck in this apartment. And both the girls they said, I don't know how mom did it because we would leave groceries for her at her
Right
front
at the
door.
door.
She's older than I am. And she was stuck in this apartment, one bedroom, with a little balcony and no visitors, no nothing. And I thought, oh my God, that would have been just by herself.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think COVID was life-changing.
loneliness, never
Yeah.
mind illness. It's just loneliness.
Loneliness.
No,
Yep.
no interaction with anybody. So thank God for this thing, the Zooms and all
Oh my
that.
God, yes.
Yeah, that we had the technology to
Yes.
stay connected at least.
Christmas on Zoom, New Year's on Zoom. That was like the craziest,
Totally, just crazy.
totally
And
the craziest.
out of those wine courses because it was just a lovely thing to do. Every Tuesday night, plug in. And then I went to Vancouver for the tastings, and we would have to be separated. It was done upstairs at Vidges, and we would have to be separated far away. But Mark would have flights for us, and we did exams and stuff. And it was,
Amazing.
yeah, yeah.
And lifelong learners. I mean, obviously you're a lifelong learner. I mean,
Love it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I do. And that is one thing. To young women today, and there's many of them now in the wine business, is stay curious, keep learning,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
know your worth and stand up for yourself kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Don't succumb to, or don't let that bother you. Just like, you know, men have that, that's their trade basically. And I often say sometimes that is why, uh, uh, husband wives or whatever partners work well together because you bring that female male energy into the thing. Because I
Hmm.
know many times when I used to get so wrapped up about something, I I'd mention it to Bob and he'd be like, what, like what's the problem,
Yeah,
very black and white.
yeah.
And we get
But
it all twisted around in these little twisters, in our mind.
yeah, well, there's a sensitivity. There's sensitivities that are,
Everything from gazillion sides and so yeah, I mean that's maybe alluding to that whole imposter syndrome. It's like, screw it, whatever. That's a beautiful,
well, for context.
it's like,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
uh don't get bogged down in that,
I
ridiculous aspects of life, really. Yeah.
Well, I think imposter syndrome was brought up at that Women in Wine event at
Yeah, and it
Sandhill.
became the topic, really. And
Yeah, and the thing I think that's interesting was your comment that like I don't know what you're talking about,
yeah, yeah.
which I loved
Yes, yes, yes.
because that is part of the magic of who you are and what you were able to accomplish. So really the story is how can I impart that wisdom or that
Yeah.
lens to young women who may not feel seen, heard, or they're elevated before they feel they're ready, and then they have to struggle with accepting, whether it's their role or, and I don't know. I do wine events, the BC Wine Tasting Challenge here, and I always have a little nervousness when I prepare, but that's what I call excitement. And the nervousness I have is the excitement that I want to be as ready as I can. I want to make sure that it's just as good as it can be. Um, but I am my own boss. I am not answering to someone else. So there is a magic gift in that.
Yeah, but then, you want to be your very best version of yourself, right? Yeah. So yeah, that is the key factor. That's actually, yeah, that's always been my sort of thing, right? Try to be the best that you can.
Bring
Be,
your game and bring the best. Yeah.
yeah. Or you can, and I think I grew up with that with my father. He was like that. He was the guy who said, "Oh, well, that's great, but what's that, bee doing there?" So that kind of guy. And so kind of, yeah, always kind of maybe ambition. I don't know. I don't
Well, vision.
know. Vision, yeah, totally. And when I get plowed down on something, I just like, okay, that's it. I'm doing this. It takes me a while to get there. But sometimes, but I just yeah, I just see it like what it is kind of thing. So
So you went,
do it.
so
I've always relied on that. That's my definitely intuition is my driver.
is your strong suit. Well, and how to develop that. Like sometimes we don't trust it. When you say, oh, don't second guess yourself. I think that's all the story around intuition.
Whenever I have, yeah, yeah, not a good idea. Yeah.
Not a good idea. So I think some of the things that I know about you that for me were really, I'll never forget, was the story about machetes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there was that.
You know how many people prune a vineyard with a machete?
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
many that I'm aware of. So you just want to refresh that a little bit for me because I couldn't remember if that was Black Hills or Terravista or both.
Terravista, there was some areas where there was it wasn't so much pruning, it was when the canopy got ridiculously completely out of control. Because we had underwater springs going through that little plot of 3.5 acres, whatever it is. And the diversity in the soil is just humongous up there. In Black Hills, yes, a sandy loam and mostly, but we were mostly on a beach down there. Here, because of the glaciers and so all these creeks and stuff that have gone underground, so the aquifer is crazy, especially in Naramata. And so this particular uh, part of Albariño, it's just there was 4 rows there in the mid section that were just like you had to literally go like this, right? And we were fighting them constantly. So hence, you had to like kind of whack them out of the way. And now they're nicely under control, but it was learning about the vineyard, and it was in just a very small portion of the south end of the vineyard on the other side of the house. And yeah, yeah, you had to use machetes to go through there. It was like a jungle in there. Yeah.
Like I have a saber. It's not anything like a machete, but I use it to open wine, like bubbles galore.
Yeah, I used to just like take everything off and just leave one cluster in there. It was
Wow. What was
great.
the impetus for like where did the idea come for Albariño and Verdejo and
Okay, so Albariño, when Black Hills we sold Black Hills December '07, and then I stayed on September of 2008, and then went to Galicia. In
oh
2008, Spain was still under a huge renaissance in terms of winemaking. I mean, you could not really even find a really good textbook on Spanish wines. And I did find one. And at that time, they even were already talking about Dio Monterrey and Valdeorras and all these smaller areas below. And Orosal, all, the different areas of Galicia. And I used to get Practical Wine and Winery and Vineyard, which was a very much of a trade magazine. It was wonderful, lots of new research coming through. And there was this amazing article on Albariño. And I became just like glued to it. And I couldn't get it out of my mind. So the guy who sold us barrels, Gerhardt, he was with Bouchard. And he, because he was a traveling barrel guy, right? He sold barrels down in
As
California.
everybody.
But I think he lived in Washington. Anyways, I said, we were chatting one day and I was telling him, and he said, well, there's a planting down in California, and Tangent Vineyards is doing an Albariño. And I went, oh, okay. And so next thing you know, that January we went down there and visited, and then that fall we went to Galicia, and then drove all the way up Spain through Riviera and the whole area, really hitting all the wine region. Not so much Rioja. Rioja we kind of drove through, and then ended up in Barcelona and flew back to Madrid and home. And Bierzo was the big one, the Mencía, which they're growing now at Terravista. Dallas and Eric planted it in
Oh.
their vineyard. Yeah, they have a Mencía Rosé now, which is very much more in Bierzo. It was Decidiente de Palacio. And he was at one of the wine festival. He's just a crazy guy who's worked for his dad in Rioja and then had all these wild vineyards in Priorat. And Ricardo was his nephew, and he was doing Mencía. And he was just so amazing. Like, I mean, these people, my Spanish, it was so broken. I mean, so broken now, but then it was really broken. And, I introduced myself. I said, oh, no, come in. And, bienvenidos and blah, blah, blah. And and then we had lunch together. And oh my God, it was amazing. But yeah, Bierzo, it was interesting because it's on the way to Santiago de Compostela and the pilgrimage. And so there was all these people there, but it's very lush there. Like, it's hilly and lush and forest. So is Valdeorras. They've got watermills everywhere. So very different kind of setup than the Albariño. Is grown like a table grape because of the humidity of the ocean, and they worry, disease, etc. So they get a lot more better wind
Right.
and actually when Larry and Linda planted the Albariño down in Stags Hollow, they planted it like that.
So would that be like pergola? Is that the house? Yes.
Exactly. So yeah, what's it called? It's not switchback, saddleback. Anyways, it's it's down just up from OK Falls, that vineyard. And Kira makes the Albariño, and she was at
Yes.
wine thing. They came about a year after us. It was sort of fun.
Okay.
And,
So there was this excitement around Albariño. Was it the wine or the grapes that attracted you?
you know what I loved also about Galicia? They really, they had so much reverence for that grape.
Yeah.
Met Martin Kodak's woman, it's a big co-op winery in Galicia. And I think it's close to Cambados. Anyways, I had a contact with her. I went to see it. It's truly a marvel because people will have like like, I don't know, 4 rows of Albariño in front of their house. And there she is. They tell her when to pick it, and she puts it in her little Mercedes, and off she drives to the winery, and she waits in a lineup. It's just truly remarkable. And then they unload her bins out of her little Mercedes and weigh them, and off they go, kind of thing. We watched the whole thing because we were there during harvest. It was the first time that we had been ever anywhere during, harvest. We've gone
Other than you working it.
yeah. And but then I took a photo, which was at Terravista for the longest time, of these 2 women driving, they grow Alicante too, and they were driving their little tractor with a load of Alicante. They were going home to make some, wine.
Their own
And I
wine.
took a picture and I showed it to this hospitality woman or some marketing woman and she said, "Oh, this is exactly what we want to not show to the world." Like, oh no, 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 you got it so wrong. This is the real thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, none of that hoity-toity stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then the Verdejo was we first went to Rueda and Toro. Just we stayed in Semencas, Semencas the first night, never even stayed in Madrid, and went to Rueda, and that's where Verdejo is. And actually Fandango, which was a blend from that vineyard.
Your blend at Terravista,
Yeah, yeah.
Fandango.
So when we were planting in 2009, we started planting. Of course, the vines were so difficult. Bob kept on saying, "Don't you want to plant Sauv Blanc or something?" I said, "No, no." And, because they all came from nurseries in California and then go through that. And then because they have to have orders before because they have to put them out in mother blocks and a quantity, they're very
Yeah.
quantity. So the thing is, when we sat at the airport leaving Spain in 2008, so Bob said, "So what did we learn?"
Yeah.
And, I thought the two would really be a nice complement to each other. So the initial Verdejo planting survived the big, big cold of 2009. It was really like, okay, you blow out the harvest of 2009 was fine. It was the winter that just started too early. The vines had no time for senescence, nothing. We hit some gross cold temperatures. And so we, of course, baby plants, there goes that.
Yeah,
And
they're like crying. Hmm.
you can water the heck out of them, but it's done.
Yeah.
So we had to replant the next year and then patchwork, patchwork, patchwork kind of thing. So
Takes a
that's
lot of time and effort.
actually, and I've always been a lover of blends. I really do. I just it's what I
Yes.
love to do is
Yes.
um, and I like to taste in the vineyard and then how it's going to work. And that's where it starts, actually. The blend starts in the vineyard. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I think we haven't really taken a page out of the old world if we're not a party to blends. Like
Yeah,
complexity comes from, I don't mean that with any disrespect to single varietals. And yeah, there are good single varietals, but there's something magic about a blend that
I agree.
captivates. Like,
Totally. Totally. It's,
yeah,
you know,
you
it
want something one dimensional, or you want something that's like, oh, tell a story
use
in.
different vessels and, do this and do that. But I don't know. There's just some magic in bringing and not necessarily co-fermenting, sometimes just doing trials and trying them. And,
But your secret talent was first identifying these two areas as vineyards, and then kind of using your intuition to identify grape varieties that would be suitable.
that
And
would
then beyond that was like your brain is and your palate and your senses and maybe your whole body are like I always say it's mind, body, spirit when you're tasting wine or when you're involved in wine because you have awareness, you have senses, but you have this internal thing that's like giving you also clues. So
I
then
mean,
you
I use
go,
science too. Don't get me. It wasn't all like,
no, 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 no.
me.
Look,
Absolutely. But quite often to substantiate what, you were tasting. But I always tasted with a blend in mind. And even so, even with Lariana, they have a very small vineyard, but the blocks are different. The the cab closer to the road is different from that first planting that's closer to the other road, to the middle, Carmenere, the same. And for some damn reason, I would go in there and go, okay, yeah, first pick this, first that thing, and yeah, it would, I don't know.
but
And
I
uh,
was so excited when I found out you were connected to Lariana because I fell in love with those wines without knowing kind of the connection. And then
right,
I was like, oh my God, now I know why.
yeah,
Because it was kind of the same discovery for me with Terra Vista. It was the same kind of discovery for me with, Black Hills and not really understanding and then understanding. And then Lariana Cellars, like that Viognier, those 17, 16. I mean, I think those were you had your hand in those.
Was amazing. I agree. Yeah, Carmenere 16 is yeah, fantastic. That's the one I actually brought, and Carol and Dan were at that
Yes, at that
one,
event at Sandhill.
and that was the Carmenere 16. That one is a
I
bit
just wanted to stand there and
an amazing blend
yeah,
and aging so well.
yeah,
But
yeah.
after our meeting, I have some old Terravista bottles, and I pulled out an 18 Figaro, which was the last vintage. Yes, older wine, but no tertiary notes, no, still happy.
Fresh.
Happy meaning singing at the end, right?
Yeah.
It's
What a
yeah,
delight.
beautiful wines. I love those Rhone whites. And I got introduced to them actually from Ron Fournier, who used to have a vineyard on Black Sage Road. He's passed away now. And um, he planted Roussanne and Viognier. And a little bit of Marsanne. Now I never used it because there was a kind of a row right below Black Sage Road. So when we sold Black Hills, we went to Spain, and he said, "Hey, Senka, why don't you?" And I couldn't make, whatever. I was, not allowed to make wine going off in
Yeah, you had to sign some contracts.
grid, but whatever. And he said he had a fruit cooling place, and um, sorry, like cold storage, right?
Right.
And he said, why don't you make a little bit of wine for us just for the two families? I went, okay, sure. So we came back, and he wanted to make Viognier. And he said, and you had to know Ron to,
Yes.
appreciate this. But he said, damn it, the pickers went in the wrong rows and they picked the Viognier. And I said, so what else is, hanging out there? He said, Roussanne is still hanging. I went, okay. So we picked the Roussanne and made, I don't know, 30 cases of wine. And I think I got an old puncheon from Graham, put it in as, we were racking with it, whatever, siphoning everything. And it was freaking delicious. There was a little bit of Viognier in it. So that's what made me like, I just fell in love
The
with
lights went on. Yeah.
2000, that would have been 2008 vintage, exactly. Because we came back at like end of October. Roussanne hangs for a long time. So yeah, Roussanne was in 2008. I thought, yeah. And Terra Vista, the philosophy behind Terra Vista was first of all white wines, because even in those days, if people used to say to me, "Really, you're just doing whites?" It's like, yeah. And now white wine is
Yes, ma'am.
more upfront than it was. And I did hear remarks too. It's like, "Oh, white wine, that's like so easy," like, what do you mean it's easy? Nothing is easy.
Nothing is easy.
And oh yeah, you just put it in the tank and you ferment and whatever. And I'm like, okay. And so the vision was to sit down for a dinner and have a white wine dinner, right?
Yes.
First course, second course, whatever, right? Or just a buffet, but few different visions of white wine. And that's, we really came out with Figaro first, which was Roussanne Marsanne Viognier, and then Fandango, and then the single varietal. So, of course, trying to sell these things was just a friggin' nightmare, because people is like, well, what is Fandango? Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a dance, but, it's also happens to be our wine. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I was in 2018, 17 and 18. I was at Legacy Liquor Store, and that was my intersection with these beautiful wines. Uh,
uh-huh.
and yeah, and impressed. Like if you are tasting international wines and you're in the Rhone and you're looking for white wine, if there's no single varietal, like you're just not going to get that.
And it's Beurre Blanc and, Claret, and
Yeah,
there's like 6 or 8 different
yeah,
names
yeah,
after.
Yeah.
Southern Rhone, right?
Southern Rhone. And you can't afford the Viognier from the Northern
No,
Rhone.
no, no,
So,
no,
what?
absolutely not. No, no. We went out there actually in January of I don't know what year. It was wild to see
It's
these vineyards and that heroic
yes.
viticulture really, which is sort of northern Italy too, I guess. Val d'Aosta going into France kind of thing where they hang off ropes and stuff. And yeah, it was but I love those.
Yes.
I mean,
And
you
to
you you have to, yeah, a good white wine. Yeah, I
oh
love
my God.
that
One of the
was the idea. Sit down and have white wines with dinner and
yeah.
with all our, seafood here and
Yeah.
abundance. It's yeah, I thought,
Well,
but it was a hard road. I mean, trying to
yes. Well, and then
so much better. It's easier to sell varietals. People at least have something to at
well,
least try to
this is
pronounce or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is the conundrum
yeah.
around wine. And that is that when we do tastings, so for example, I did BC versus Bordeaux,
Okay.
and it's like left bank and right bank. And then you look at the blends and you're kind of like, okay, now where do I go for BC to get a Cabernet Sauvignon dominant blend? There's not very many, not very many. And then where do I go to get sort of right bank style? Well, right bank in France is mostly two or three grape varieties. It's not five.
No, no, that's right.
And so then you're like, oh, this isn't making any sense. Like, what's the drive or what was the imagination for these wines? And it's just really interesting because I studied classics and then kind of like fell in love with BC. And I'm like, I'm all about elevating and working with and celebrating the amazing things that are happening here. But anyway, the long and short of it, it was not easy. And blends, we somehow in the new world have learned that, oh, 100% Merlot or 100% Pinot Noir or 100%
Yeah,
Gamay or 100% Chardonnay or 100% Sauvignon Blanc, like this is the way to go. And it's like, well, great. But then when you go to Rhone Valley, you're like out of luck. Or when you go to Languedoc, Roussillon, well, maybe you can find some places. But if you're in Baccarat or Gigondas, it's like you're really looking again at blends. So
yeah, yeah.
even yeah, so anyway it's
You know, okay, so the dinner, the white wine dinner,
yes.
does it, when you have those two things in your mouth, the food, and then you go, oh my God, like, does it really matter? Like what is in the like, but when that happens, it's magic. To me, it's just absolutely magic. And I love that whole idea of, so what are you going to eat? People ask, oh, so what do you, okay, so, I tend to drink whatever or taste more lighter. Now, of course, we're all getting old now and
It's like less alcohol is better.
yeah, exactly. And but it's so much fun to think, okay, what is that going to taste like?
Yes.
And what is that
Yes.
food bringing? And we have always had a huge vegetable garden. Bob has always had a vegetable. Wherever we lived, we've had a vegetable garden. Well before it was like, whatever. And and the garden has been such an inspiration to me over the years. And cooking, and I go
Yes.
an eggplant, and I can think like 15 different things I can do with the eggplant,
Yes.
and it's like constantly, and
Yes.
almost to the point that I was like, okay, just calm down. Let's
Calm down. Calm
get the
down.
healthy version. And it's usually these things that I think up of, and then I go, oh my God, now I got to do all the work, right? Which I don't really care to do. I just like to think, the thinking process, not
Get
the
someone else to do it.
yeah, yeah. So
But
yeah, it's fun.
I
It's a never, like
yeah.
you said on your site, it's a lifelong journey. It's just
Yes.
always learning, and
Yes. And inspiring.
it's so inspiring, so
Do you
inspiring.
have a cellar? Do you have a cellar of bottles?
Yeah, I do have a cellar. And if we ever move out of this house, we built ourselves a really small house because everything we looked at after Terravista was just these humongous rooms and bathrooms and all that.
Who's going to clean it?
Oh, God, yeah. But this one has a cellar. It's kind of a prominent spot. And we thought, if we ever sell it, maybe it can be a nursery or something.
Mm-hmm.
No windows for the baby. I don't know. But
And how many bottles? How many
I
bottles in your cellar?
don't think cellars are, whatever. But we in both houses we have had a cellar. Yeah. Yeah.
And about how many bottles do you have?
And then I never really count. I've bought over during travels a lot, and we used to bring a lot more home. Now we don't seem to do
No.
it as
Try
much.
not. Yeah.
Overload myself. I was on a scholar trip to Piemonte, and oh yeah, I took the suitcase. But at the end, I thought, why am I doing this? Like,
Yes.
shipping home is. There was a bunch of Americans on it, and they were like, "Yeah, okay, ship me a case home," and the wife is receiving all this, and it was no big deal. But for us, it's just so like humongous that I remember our first when we went at Black Hills. Alibi was really the one
Yes.
for me, and 2003 was the first vintage, and I just love that Sauv Blanc, and I had this idea how the Sauv Blanc should be. And then I met Didier Dagenot at the Sauv Blanc conference, and then went to visit him, and blah blah. And then we came back to Zagreb, where I was born, and at my aunt's house. And then we were unloading the Renault that we rented, and it just kept coming. And because we never paid attention, we just bought, and we're like, yeah, okay, we'll deal with that once we get back. So then we had quite a few parties. This was way back 2000 something, and at her house, invited people, and then there was still enough wine. So Bob created it all up, and we actually shipped it. And then customs guy, we said, we're in the biz, and he let us go through as a bottle of Riesling, Alsatian Riesling, was dripping out of the case. Oh, I'll never forget. And I was like, okay, don't say anything. It's just
Get out of here.
But I mean, I get peeved off about that because it's just a matter of trying it.
Yeah.
I just want to try it. It's not like consuming the bottle. It's like, don't know without me. I still have we always open together.
Yeah.
And if I have bottles that I set aside if Bob's home alone because I want to taste it. That's why. Yeah.
Well,
salt.
tasting never look. Someone who's curious,
Especially
someone
if there's
passionate.
there's one bottle of something, I have to taste it, right? So I get very possessed about it. So silly.
Yeah. Well, my learnings have been recently that I had 150 bottles, and I had to do an inventory because I was moving, and I was like, what are you going to do with? Oh, it was 180. I can't remember what I started with. And ever
Right.
since then, I've been like this. But what was super interesting is I bought a lot of white wine. I bought a lot of Riesling, and Riesling, I was like, it's got to sit there for 10 years before I even touch it. So, okay. But I found out that very quickly on, I had a lot of red wine every night, but there was no white wine available. So, what I drink with food in general, most often, is white wine. And that
Yeah.
was kind of an epiphany. It was like, oh, I didn't know that. And like I'm saving the red wine. But
Yeah.
what am I saving it? Like, okay, yes, one day, yes, but now it's like I gotta have a few parties because
Exactly.
my kids are like, no, no, no wine, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
My family's like, don't bring it. We're not interested. I was like, okay.
Lots of, gifts. I just, Christmas, and people go, oh, thank you so much. And it's like, great. I want to share that kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
why not?
Yes. I want to share.
And wine should be shared. It's like good books, right? They should be shared.
Listen, isn't that the whole experience around the table, food and wine?
Back, it's like, well, so what? Like, they
Yeah.
all sit on there. I love books and I love the display of books, but do I ever really go through my bookshelf? Most likely not, but I love being amongst books, right?
Yeah.
But so if I don't get a book back, and it's like I didn't get that book back from them. It's like whatever, go to the library and
Go
take.
enjoy it. Go
Yeah,
enjoy it. Yeah.
exactly. A book should be passed along
Passed along.
and so
And stuff.
be enjoyed in good company, and
Yeah.
it's probably my favorite activity still.
Is enjoying food and wine around a table with friends.
It's really nice,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it rounds out something. I don't know. It rounds out the rough edges of life, perhaps sometimes. I don't
Mhm.
know.
The social value is
I
high.
know. Yeah. Yeah. It really
And it also brings more good conversation, I find. Maybe a little more honest. Mm. Hopefully not acrimonious or combative.
no, no. It's gosh, some of my favorite. Yeah. We were in Zagreb in May with I was there with our son actually, and I still have some couple of old friends there, and he just couldn't, we just sat into the evening around a table and sipped and talked, and yeah, it's the way I grew up anyways. It's my uncle did that all the time, so I still love that.
I
Um,
think that is the essence of it. In fact, when you talk about quality of life,
yeah, yeah, it's and it doesn't have to be,
nope,
yeah, it can be,
doesn't
yeah,
have to be fancy. It just has to be lingering,
yeah,
enjoyable,
absolutely. Yeah,
interesting. Anyway,
yeah,
kind of like this conversation.
yeah, yeah. I love, yeah,
So
for sure.
thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure there's more stories we can tell.
Hmm.
I hope there's lots of things going on, but I hope that our paths cross soon and again.
Definitely.
Well,
If you're down this way, you've got my phone number. So
100%. I'm going to post that.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Take
Okay,
care.
so don't go anywhere. I'm going to stop the recording. But
Okay.
Senka, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
And when I post it, it'll just share with everyone where they can find wines that you made, and then your street address and your phone number.
Yeah. Do you remember
Okay.
the first time in a washroom
Yes.
before I left? Uh, I think it was 2018. I did this BCWI thing where I
Yes.
was on the panel with Grant Stanley and
Yes.
Howard. Remember?
Yes.
Talked about the vintage, and
And we huddled in the bathroom and talked on for about, I don't know.
we're in the stone. It was like, oh, okay, hi, and then the black glasses, of course, your signature. Yeah,
Yeah, they're hiding here somewhere. I can't see anymore, but it's like, one moment, please.
for that.
Except I had black hair at the time, I'm pretty sure. There you are, madam. Doo.
A lot of my body is disintegrating, but the hair remains, believe it or not.
Yes, well, I think it's marvelous. I'm the lady from Glad, but I love the hair color and you're healthy. So keep up the good work.
Well, healthy, I try
Yeah,
to, I do all the stuff that I do is
do all the stuff.
being
Yeah,
moving and mobile,
yeah.
etc.
It's
And
essential.
it's a lot of work, I tell you. You work and now you work just to get up in the morning and be able to do everything you like to do and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's definitely, and the 70s are definitely different than the 60s. My neighbor said that to me years ago. And I must admit you can just get a little bit more tired now than
Mm,
before, But
mm.
the mind is of a 20-year-old, but
Well, you're marvelous with the mind of a 20-year-old, and we're going to keep that heart right there because you know
okay,
what? That's
okay,
not the case for everyone. So you're
okay.
blessed. Anyway, I'm going to pause and then I'm going to come right back to you. Okay, so we're going to end this. Thank you so much for your time. It's really
You're very
appreciated.
welcome.